ships to go through. It's also part of the plan from the EU. They want more transport to be going up and down the rivers rather than having transport on the roads. So they'd rather use this method. They say it's more green, environmentally friendly, to use locks, which is a bit of a paradox because it's very tough to get new locks built because the effect you can have on the environment, especially fish, of course, especially salmon. Why are we going on to one side? We'll always notice when we go into a lock, we'll always stick to normally the port side, which is your left-hand side. We'll always be on that side, and we'll always stay hugging the wall. Just manually, you can see our captain there on the left-hand side. The question is why? Why are we not in the middle of the lock, especially when there's no other ships? Well, it's actually a law. It's a legal requirement that we go alongside. What will happen is, when we go alongside, we'll see in a minute these little metal flotillas on the left and on the right side. The sailors will tie some rope in two places or one place to make sure we're moored up alongside. It's a safety feature to make sure the ship doesn't move too much when the water is dropping or rising. Because what happens is the ship has to turn its engines off when the water starts to drop and raise. So potentially the ship could move. It's just a safety feature, really. So we moor up alongside on the wall. So this is something that we always do. We'll keep going until we're safely inside, then we'll stop and the sailors will moor us up. Now, those little metal flotillas I was talking about, you can see the numbers on the left-hand side of the board. Now, if you're looking in front, you can see where the lockmaster is. He or she will be up there. And you can see these numbers going across the top. Looks like something from Wall Street, maybe. You know, you can see these figures going across up there on the screen. What do they mean? Well, they are basically for the captain. He can decipher those, and that basically tells us the depth. Those numbers now tells us the depth of the water as we exit the lock and continue onwards downwards towards Budapest. So he converts those. The length of this lock, well, it's around 275 meters in length and 34 meters wide. The locks also have a big effect, of course, on the longships themselves, because if you make a longship much longer than this, then you're not going to fit in certain locks, which means, of course, you're going to very much be restricted on what rivers you go on and how far you can go. Now, the width of the ships can be wider, potentially, but the length is very much harder to get much longer than this ship, really, because, like I said, we'll struggle with some of the smaller locks. This, of course, is one of the biggest. Now, if you ever want to know what the width and length of a ship is, legally, every ship has it written on the side of the wheelhouse. So every ship will have the dimensions and size of the ship on the wheelhouse. Now, this is a very interesting particular lock because we've got two types of doorways. Behind us, where we stop, we're going to see the very large black and yellow screen. That is going to lift up behind us once we're moored up alongside. So that's going to lift up behind, and then we're going to be in here like an artificial swimming pool, where the water level does drop quite quickly. Considering we're going 50 to 60 feet. You can imagine how much water is in here. Well, in layman's terms, it's around 58 Olympic swimming pools of water will be emptied for us to drop. So about 58 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Swimming pool, we start to lower, and then you can see it's quite a, well, it's a very important engineering project, and it's very famous around here. You can see some people there on the actual bridge. It doesn't move, it's not a swing bridge. We sail underneath that, so that means traffic can keep going across, of course. It doesn't have to stop when ships go through. Now, the whole point, of course, of this project being built here, well, I mentioned it was back in the 70s, 1977, when communism, of course, was very much here, in Czechoslovakia, as it would have been there, and the Republic of Hungary, as it would have been called then, and, or People's Republic of Hungary. And it's still an international court case over this between the two countries. What happened? Well, Slovakia were building this along with Hungary. Hungarians pulled out. They said it was too expensive, too damaging to the environment, and Slovakia continued to build it. So all the electricity goes to Slovakia. Now Hungary have decided that they put a lot of money into it as well, and would like some of the electricity that's generated here. So this is an ongoing court case between the two countries, who gets all the electricity. But at the moment, very much just Slovakia. It generates a lot of electricity here. In fact, it's up to 3% of all of Slovakia's electricity comes from this plant. So 3% of the whole of the country of Slovakia gets its electricity from here. 5 very, very large vents underneath the actual water, so you can't see the vents. What they do, they open up quite simply, and the water floods out, goes a bit like a drain in a bathtub. Just pull the plug, the water drains out into the river in front of us, the canal area in front. That's how it works. But you can see when we're at the top there, you look down how incredibly high we are above the land and the river, so obviously we have to get down to that level before we can open up the swing doors and continue on our journey towards Budapest.
Subscribe to Culture Explorer to see the latest videos.